Yes, we can hear you well.
Great. So welcome everyone. So I'll jump straight into it because we have just 1 hour 15 minutes, and I would love to spend 2-3 hours talking about this trip, but time is always of the essence. So this is about our rather epic adventure across 5 Himalayan states, which has never been attempted before in one single odyssey in a way. 3,000 kilometers of unsupported cycle touring on all mountain roads. We didn't take the planes at all. Over 204 days from the easternmost part of Arunachal Kaho to Kunzumla in Spiti. And I'll sort of share later why we had to stop there and couldn't go ahead. Our total elevation gain was more than 195,000 feet, maybe closer to 210,000, but I've not been able to add up those data points because in many places our Strava didn't work or Garmin didn't work. Cycling in some of the most remote and wild places and communities in the Indian Himalaya was our goal. And I think to a very large extent, we were able to accomplish it. And I would really believe that we are the first Indian couple, especially married couple, to cycle across the Himalayas unsupported with all our touring gear, with no backup vehicle or anything like that for the entire duration. Just to set a bit of a context for this trip is really important. Some of you may know about my Alaska to Peru trip, but it was my whole journey in 2012, 14, especially when I first climbed from Manali to Khardungla. I was inspired by various books on nature, culture, adventure travel. And as you can see, some of them are really epic classics, which you all may have read already. And one or two books that not many people have come across, but they are brilliant books. And I urge all of you, if you love the mountains, if you love nature, please do read these two books. They are just incredible. And if you can't take screenshots and stuff like that, I'll send it to you later. Many years ago in 2010, this is the image I saw and I managed to save it. It was in South America of this guy going on this road towards the mountain. And for me personally, it was a very uplifting, inspiring image, which kind of set in motion certain thoughts about going into the mountains on a bike. So in June 2016, I took this 14-month long unsupported and solo trip from the almost the North Pole, from the tip of North America, from the Prudhoe Bay, from Dead Horse to Cusco in Peru. And this was totally solo and unsupported on crazy roads from the top of the North American continent to the Andes in Peru, somewhere in the middle. I ended my trip just before Bolivia. And 7 years later, by which time I was 55 years old and I was married, uh, decided to take up a major project. I didn't want to do this alone, but Ashim, my wife, as you can see in the picture, um, didn't know how to cycle. So I just want to take you guys a bit about her because it's very important. She was a integral part of this journey. And she belongs to an indigenous tribe. And why I tell you this is because some of her knowledge literally saved our lives on the road. She's lived in a remote village till 2016 near the Burmese border with no primary health care or internet access. But she turned her life around, became an internationally certified yoga instructor. She has her own label in home accessories today. She's working very hard on that. But more importantly, it relevance to the journey itself, her extensive practical knowledge of indigenous plants and herbs, which surprisingly were very common between the foothills and the hills of Manipur, where she's from, to Uttarakhand and Himachal. Saved us a lot from stomach upsets. And sometimes we didn't have food, so we were able to eat plants from the wild, which even the locals didn't know. So I think that knowledge was extremely useful for us being on the road on many remote areas and jungles. And the most remarkable part about this whole piece, for those of you who believe or balk at going ahead, is that she learned to ride a bicycle only 1 year before the journey. She didn't know, and I taught her literally running behind her, holding a saddle, just like you teach a child. And from there on, I took her into mountain area a little bit, and then put panniers on her cycle and made her practice. And within a year, she was ready for this trip. So that is a remarkable, I think, example of real grit and a devotion to doing something. So coming to the Pedal the Himalaya tour, We started from the far eastern corner of of Arunachal Pradesh. We went from Guwahati to Tawang, and our first staging point for this was a village called Tenzing Gaon. So it was extremely hot in September of 2023 in the plains. It was also raining a lot in the plains. So we started a bit about 20 kilometers up the mountains from a small village called Tenzing Gaon, where the Dalai Lama had stayed when he had escaped from Tibet in 1959. That's why it's named after him. Tenzin is his first name. And we reached on that particular section of the trip, the easternmost village of India, Kaho, on the Indo-Chinese border. And that was one of the most beautiful rides of our life and also the highlights. We went up till the heights of Kunzumla in Spiti at 15,000, 9 months later, by the end of June 2024. This is where we ended our journey. And just to give you an idea of the terrain that we covered in this period, we started, if you look to the right side or to, I think you'll be facing. So if you look at towards the Arunachal side, we did about 1100 kilometers of cycling between two sectors. This entire trip was divided into 8 sectors, and within those sectors, we did multiple rides, maybe I think about two per sector. So two rides of, 250 to 400 kilometers each. So the Tawang sector, we started from Shergaon there, and then we went from Itanagar to Dong Valley sector, which is the easternmost corner of India, which we also became the first cyclist to reach there on a bicycle last year. So nobody else had been there except some motorcyclists. They usually stop at Kibithu. We went 30 kilometers ahead, took some army permissions and went right ahead. From there on, we went to the Khasi Hills to Sikkim, and then the Khasi Hills in Meghalaya, which was also an incredible trip in the winter. All this happened September, October, November, December, in the peak of winter, so extremely cold. And then that year in 2023, the winters came really late. If you remember, the snow did not fall right up till February, January end and February. So we got caught up thinking that we will be able to sort of get out of the northern winter. We were mistaken. We landed bang in the middle of snowfall in the middle of January in East Kamau, then Gangotri, then Spiti, and then Lahore. So that was the 4 sectors that we did there, 5 sectors, and did about 2,000 kilometers. But when we first started to do this and talk about it internally, a family, especially Ashim with her family, because we got married in August 2023, and her family was, I mean, my family was already used to my Alaska Peru trip. All the questions had already come earlier. But she faced the same level of question from her family, which was, "You're crazy. Your little girl, if you can see her picture, she's got a small frame. You're not strong enough. What a crazy plan." And then, of course, this slide is from my Alaska trip, but many people said, "You don't speak the local language. How will you communicate, especially in the Northeast? You can die." And that was a real fear that we had. Who will carry your luggage? People didn't know anything about cycle touring, would ask, "Who will carry your luggage?" So that was the funniest question that I ever faced. People still told me, even though I was taking leave or whatever, hybrid working, they said, "You're throwing your career away." For the second time in my life, I heard that. Ashim had to give up her yoga practice. So in a way, she also threw that practice away. And just like people said to me, Mexico is dangerous. Yeah, definitely. They said Indian roads are crazy. You can get killed, blah, blah. And of course, the question that comes from one side, no matter how old you are, where is the money and how are you going to fund yourself? Don't come to us, kind of thing. And some people even said, "You're not going on a motorcycle, you're going on a bicycle." So some of you have done adventure travel, and I don't know enough about you as an audience. I'm sure you've heard these questions at home and you must be laughing to yourself. You can't see your faces right now because the screen is on. But yeah. So for me and for us, I think the essence was this particular quote. The joy of life comes from our encounters with new experiences. And for cyclists who are on a tour, there is no greater joy than to have an endlessly changing horizon. And I experienced that on the Alaska Peru trip, and I was dying to wake up every day in a new place, and never have to go back to the same place again. That's the cruelty of a commute. But to plan for a trip like this, I'm going to spend some time so that you guys understand, and maybe that's why you're in this talk to know more about it. I think the first rigorous part of our training was coaching Asham to ride a bike. Once that was done, I had to train her how to ride on bad road, then mountain roads with a pannier. So that whole process took 1 year. And I think I've become an expert in coaching people now on a bicycle, which I never thought I would develop as a skill set. Uh, Using the bikes, the troll was already built by Arvind. It's I've been riding the troll for 8 years now. It's a beautiful bike. Thanks, Arvind, for building a literally a bomb-proof bike. 8 years on, touchwood, I've not had a single breakdown except with the brakes, which we changed on the way on this trip. But they had to go at some point the braking mechanism and the bridge club, which was built by bums on the side of it. Again, at a time when parts coming into India, it was a real challenge getting all the parts together 2 years ago. A lot of body endurance, mental stamina, overcoming Ashim's own fears, my own fears, because I had not really toured after 8 years. I mean, I was 48 when I toured Alaska to Peru. I was still much stronger, and now I was 55, joint pains, and the usual stuff starts catching up with you, neck pain and stuff like that. So getting over that and getting myself slightly fit for the journey is really important. So identifying a whole set of new gear because the old gear had become old and moldy, except some of the bikepacking gear I had on the way. Mapping thousands of kilometers of cycling was not easy because it took me to different parts of the country I'd never been to before. Himachal and Uttarakhand I was still familiar with. A little bit of Sikkim because I'd done bikepacking there. But Arunachal, Meghalaya was a completely new baby for me, including Lahaul and Spiti, where I had not cycled earlier. I'd been to Ladakh, but via the bypassed Lahaul, literally just touched Lahaul and then went into Ganska. A lot of wilderness survival training had to happen once again, reorientation. One good thing was that Ashim already knew how to survive in the wild. I mean, she comes from a hunting tribe, so a lot of her jungle knowledge was pretty sound. I had to uh, build up mine again. And of course, understanding the weather patterns because of climate change, things are no longer predictable, guys. And you have to really, really plan on the move when you're in the mountains. You can't take it lightly because you can't go by past forecasts. Just few days ago, there was a major cloudburst, and a lot of BRO people died. So you can't predict that this event can't happen in March. We were going through snowstorms in March, in Sisu, and of course, the budgeting with the finances was. Our last training trip is when I took Hashim to a 250-kilometer training trip, which was from Pathankot to Padri Pass, which is about 250 kilometers. It was a simulation with all the equipment and bad rain. We went in July, August when it was heavy monsoon, but we took that risk. On the descent, we broke her hand, which set us back by a week. So we left on, I think, 8th or 9th of September instead of uh, late August. But that fracture did not deter her from taking on the trip. So this was the doctor who kind of really saved her on a Sunday of 15th August. He had only guy in the whole of Dalhousie with the X-ray machine. Everything else was done. So again, a lot of gratefulness to a lot of people along the way. It was a pretty rough terrain to Padri Pass. It's on the border between J&K and Himachal, about 10,000 feet. And this was the kind of terrain that we were cycling on. I just want to take you guys quickly through what it involves to be on a multi-month, multi-touring trip. A serious one, not. I've seen a lot of cyclists go on these bikepacking trips. In the south, it's okay. West of India is okay. East of India is okay. But the Himalayas are a different kettle of fish. You cannot take a chance in the Himalayas. The equipment you carry has to be fail-proof, fail-safe. You have to take into account a lot of contingencies, especially with high altitude, changing weather patterns above 9,000, 10,000 feet. People have died doing things. People have suffered from serious hypothermia. And I would suggest that you know you consider planning thoroughly and not try to save cost and save money because it can really cost you your life. So if you're lucky, you'll get away with it, but sometimes some people are not lucky. The way I plan is I plan for lunch. I plan for plan B, plan C. So there were times when I was carrying two water filters. carrying two stoves, so a multi-fuel stove and a wood stove. But what if you run out of petrol and you can't pump the stove? You need to have something to cook your food with. So a wooden stove, I bought a titanium one, small one. It packs up into like a plate, and it opens up beautifully. So these are some of the things that we had on us. I can share the gear list with you guys. We can have a group or something, and Rohan or Arvind can sort of give you my numbers, and you can contact me separately. But going on a trip like this revolves a lot of equipment, panniers, dry bags for all kinds of weather. Bags are really important for storage. Racks, very strong racks. So I've had these Surly racks for 8 years now. I got the tubeless ones for Ashim because they're much lighter. You need to have a really good tent. Please don't compromise on the tent and go and buy something from Decathlon. It's going to be heavy and it's going to let you down. So I'm calling it out because I know people who have suffered a lot by buying cheap tents. You need to buy ultralight sleeping bags and not heavy ones because they're going to weigh you down again. If you're a young guy who's 25, 26, 30, and you're strong, it's okay. You can still compromise on the ultralight part. But if you're above 40, 45, I think I would suggest go in for ultralight equipment because that puts a lot of strain on the joints if your bike is too heavy. And it also slows you down a hell of a lot. Um, Water is the main thing, guys. I mean, you need to carry every possible thing to protect you against a virus. And touch wood, on this entire trip of 9 months in Himalayas, we didn't fall even once, not down with gastroenteritis, not down with any viral fever or cholera because I took extreme cautions on water. So even after filtering water through a beauty filter, I use a steady pin, a UV light to cleanse the water against viruses. So a lot of research has gone into it. Some of the equipment that I carried were two cameras, GoPro, iPhone 14 Pro was my go-to. I shot the film, which I'm going to show you very soon, in the iPhone 14. Some of it is on GoPro, but mainly on the iPhone 14. Gear items, clothing and food, down jackets, layering, you've all read, you're all pretty conversant. The most important. I would suggest don't carry fleece, but carry merino. It's lighter and it's warmer. If it gets wet, it still keeps you warm. So just rely on merino hiking socks, merino layers, merino buffs. So that will save you in the mountains and the Himalayas. In terms of food, we were carrying first and foremost priority for me was my coffee. I can't live without it. I had a logistic system going to deliver me my ground coffee wherever I went. And thankfully, because of the Amazons of the world, I think the delivery systems in this country have really expanded beautifully. We ate a lot of fresh vegetables along the way, boiled vegetables mainly. It's healthier. We carried protein bars, dark chocolate, soup packets, noodles, oatmeal, dried mushroom, fruit, almond, walnut. Carried some Western NaCl for really steep climbs. It really helpful. A lot of amino acids. Electrolyte tablets. I'm pre-diabetic, so I had to be very careful with my sugar intake. So I was carrying these tablets which had very less sugar. And of course, electrolyte capsules are always available. You must carry magnesium and zinc. Very important because over a strenuous tour, so much of climbing, your body gets depleted very fast. There are some special add-ons for this trip, both for the Surly Troll and the Surly Bridge Club. On my tour from the beginning, I always had a Jones Edge bar, which is an amazing piece because you can load so much on it. For Ashim, I got her a solo Surly Moloko bar. In the front, in the beginning, on a couple of sectors, I used an 8-pack rack for the troll, which I switched to the Surly front rack later on when I had to carry on heavier clothing. I've always had a roller pub on the troll, which I've been fitted many years ago, still going strong. But for Ashim, we had a regular drive. I switched to a 32 teeth 1X bolt because it helps you climb with a heavy load much easier. I replaced the Brooks. Uh, I have to Italia. It's got a nice flow pattern. It's very vital to protect your perineum, especially for men and even for women. The Brooks is really not an ideal touring saddle with you because it's going to give you long-term perineum issues and prostate issues. which Western brands won't talk about because they just want to sell a product to you. The rear view mirrors and the tires are most important. I invested in heavy tires. The Marathon Tour Plus got 890 grams, but we didn't get even one puncture on a 3,000 kilometer trip. We had no lining, nothing. They were not tubeless. And on my bike, I use a 620 extra terrestrial tires, which is 2.1. I have a 26-inch. Ashim has a 27.5. So not even one puncture in 3,000 kilometers, which was a miracle. I'm talking about it for the first time. Though the entire trip, I never said it because I thought I might get jinxed. Mapping local weather and the gear is extremely important, guys. Use good quality apps which are reliable. You need to plan for high altitude passes. Please carry Diamox, Disprin, paracetamol, and most importantly, don't forget to carry dexamethasone and learn from a doctor how to take it, when to take it. Because on the last trip in Spiti, I didn't carry it, and it was on that trip that Ashi had a massive high altitude sickness. She almost went, but somehow, with the grace of God, somebody helped us bring her down a couple of thousand feet immediately. Otherwise, I think she was gone that day. So please carry dexamethasone and learn how to take it. And take it only after calling the doc and with the symptoms. Ultralight warm clothing extremely important for mountains. Carry waterproof socks, waterproof gloves, and try to lighten your load by carrying water filters. Enough streams on the way to fill water in. I'll just now play a film for you guys on the trip, 6 minute film. So just roll back and enjoy.
Something that makes us complete when we finally see. Here with the sun on our backs, it's so love enough to go around. In space, breathe it in and slowly breathe it out. There's a place just for us here in the gold dust. We're stood in the moonlight, it's something sweet. Let it wash over all of me. With you I form my company, forever close to the unknown. There's no doubts and no regret. Happy before we get another day to do it all again. Oh, we're throwing open all the curtains wide. Oh, not gonna miss a thing. Oh, nothing's promised to you in this life, but it's there for us to take. So live well, be bold, be brave. We lay in the daylight under the old oak tree. It's simple, beautiful, it's all we need. Chasing the wonder endlessly, further into the unknown. There's no doubts and no regret. Happy before we get another day to do it all again. Oh, we're throwing open all the curtains wide. Oh, not gonna miss a thing. Oh, nothing's promised to you in this life, but it's there for us to take. So live well, be bold, be brave. Let in the sun. You don't know what you got till it.
So,
Brilliant.
thank you guys.
You'll have to share. Sorry, Dhruv. You'll have to share that video with us as a files that we can play locally, because it was a little bit stuttering in the presentation, but
Okay,
we could see the imagery was like amazing and the music came through fine, but the
okay.
video was just a little stuttered, but
I'll
still
I'll,
pretty
I'll
really
share it with you.
amazing.
I'll put it. Thanks a lot. I'll put it on Google Drive for you. You can download it then. So the first day of our Himalayan Odyssey started, like I said, in Tenzing Gaon in Arunachal. This was a few days later, our first campsite in Shergaon. So these are all places renamed by the Indian government. The actually Shergaon belongs to the Seddupuran tribe, which is about only 10,000 people in the country. But because of the renaming of many places to sort of delineate them from Chinese kind of propaganda, a lot of Indian names have been given to places along the way. But Gaon, for example, is not a Monpa tribe word. So yeah, again, so this was our first beautiful campsite. We rode in a lot of cold places across, camped in a lot of cold places. I'll just show you some camping pics. This was again in Arunachal, near a bridge, in quite a remote part of Arunachal actually. A lot of climbing, as I said. So that 15,000 feet in Kunzumla. A lot of breathing difficulties, dehydration, blood pressure, headaches can come to at high altitude. So be careful. This was Ashim gasping for breath. Her entire airway had got constricted and she couldn't breathe. That's when somebody came down and rescued her and me and brought us down. We managed to reach Chicham Bridge, but after that, we had to be taken down 2,000 feet. It was really tough. That's because one particular day we didn't acclimatize properly, which was after leaving Key Monastery. So acclimatization at every altitude for 2 3 days is really important. These are the kind of passes and the kind of loops and climbs that you see in Arunachal, in Himachal, in Uttarakhand. This was one nice shot I got. Normally, the angle is not enough to take a shot of loops, but this is the only nice shot I managed to get. And this was on the way to Sela at about 14,000 feet.
8,000 feet.
Camping on the way to Tawang. This is one of the most beautiful campsites that we ever. I mean, it was dry, arid. We had, luckily, there was a water pipe going into the fields below, so we were taking water from there, but there's absolutely nothing here. It used to be bitterly cold at night and really hot during the day. And this was camping at about 13,000 feet. Near the Dhankar Monastery, you can see the monastery in the background on the left hand side. This was also a great camping spot. We loved it so much thanks to our friend Firoz, who's also a Surly rider and an incredible guy. I hope he can give a talk to you guys one day. He, in one of his posts, had written about this campsite. I think he stayed here for a month, if I'm not mistaken. And we found it when we went to Shanghai. And we camped there for 3 days. It was, and we had a leopard visit us also in the night. Luckily, he just didn't like our smell too much, so he went away. And this was along the Lohit River, which comes in from China, near Balong, which is the site of a very famous 1962 war battle with China, the only place where we were able to push back Chinese forces. When you camp in the mountains, you'll always find dogs coming and sitting with you. And this guy was no exception. He was a beautiful specimen. I wish I could have carried him back with us, but we couldn't. This was in Meghalaya, Bihar Valley in Eastern Kamau. This was one of our more unique spots next to a monastery in Miyar Valley in Lahore. Hardly anyone goes here. Only those people who are trekking to Zanskar from Lahore side, they take this route. Otherwise, this valley is completely untouched, unknown, remote, and there was no place to camp because they have sharp cliffs. So we actually went inside the monastery compound and asked them permission to camp, and we did that. It was very nice. Cooking is looks fun in videos, and but in real life it is a real pain because you have to collect firewood, you have to wash. Sometimes there's no water to wash vegetables, clean the rice, clean the dal, everything. It's quite a pain sometimes. And Ashim cooked in a complete tribal fashion. She never wanted to use the multi-fuel stove. Always wanted to make food with firewood. So my job is to go and collect the firewood. So that's why I'm calling it a pain. Uh, so sometimes she would agree to use the stove when there was no wood. So basically in arid places like Spiti and Miyar Valley where there was not many trees. One non-sexy thing you guys will have to keep doing is washing and drying your clothes because you carry very limited stuff, and sometimes you don't get sun to dry them, so you have to make do wearing the same stuff for 4 5 days. You've got to get used to eating in different types of places. Uh, you know, I thought the kitchens in Meghalaya were extremely clean. They look very basic, but one of the cleanest kitchens, I think, the entire Himalayan territory that we went to were in Meghalaya. And of course, there are a lot of dhabas in Uttarakhand, in Himachal, you'll never fall short of food, especially during the day. At times, we also ate fish, and I must show you these stinky bugs that Ashim caught on the bridge in Arunachal and ate. I was aghast. Okay, I'll play the video for you guys.
Ashim didn't know. She says it's a delicacy in her hometown, which is just validated with the guy down there in the river. He also eats it in Arunachal. It's kind of, I call it the stinky bug.
So she fried them in the night and had them for. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was like I'm with like a white person. But yeah, I mean, after eating, you have to go somewhere. So don't expect to go to clean places. You have to clean up places yourself sometimes, use a drum and stuff like that. So typically, either you do it in the jungle or you go to places like this. A lot of tough terrain on the way. Some were really enjoyable. Most of it was quite tough. To me, I mean, sometimes first 2 weeks you're full of rigor, but the second month your body is wearing down and it takes you that much longer to climb and to do long distances. So we settled down to a steady pace of about 25, 30 kilometers a day, sometimes only 24, 25. But there was a lot of climbing and weather would keep changing sometimes. This was on the way to Nako from Poo in Spiti, from Kinnaur to into Spiti. This was in Dharma Valley. It was minus 16 degrees in eastern Command near Dhartula. This was Gangotri, again at about minus 10 during the day. Night it was almost minus 20. We stayed at a BRO camp. That night they gave us shelter. Lot of pushing involved, guys. If you think you're going to be heroes and brave enough to cycle everything, please don't be too brave. You'll end up straining yourself. Because some roads are like 15, 18, 20 degrees gradients. For 2, 3 kilometers, you have to push. We took on some really amazing roads and beautiful roads, and we can take this as like a shortcut to a guide. Tezu to Kaho is beautiful. Munsiari to Birti is just mind blowing. Either way, Johar Valley road is untouched, unknown by most people. The Uttarkashi Gangotri road is incredible. Miyar Valley, like I told you, again. Kishtwa Road, again, very risky but beautiful. Nako, Kaza, Kibber, they're all very popular roads with cyclists, and we did pick a few guys from Bangalore who are cycling. A very popular route, and a lot of people have done it already, I think. And of course, Losar to Kundumla is quite a ride as well. This is Chicham Bridge. You don't miss much, but I think riding to Kibber village is worth it. It's at 14,000 feet. And this is where we came down to get Ashim out of trouble. And of course, once we acclimatize again in Losar for 3 days, you find going up to 15,000 feet. After that event, nothing more happened. She was fine. We were able to easily climb up to 15,000 and end up getting there. It was already June end. The monsoons had already broken. So it was impossible to go beyond that point because to the dry part, we would have to go down to Manali, which is raining, and then go on to Zanskar, which is again raining a lot. There were mudslides happening. So we decided to end the journey there and take up the Ladakh section on a later day, maybe another year. But and plus, I had to get back to work by July, so that was my commitment. And in a way, we also ran out of time. But the intent was to go up till Kargil and then stretch, then I think we'll have to stretch to some other day. This is one of my most favorite lines. It's an Eskimo proverb which I picked up in the Arctic. If you're going to walk on thin ice, then you might as well dance. So enjoy yourself. You'll go through a lot of stuff when you're touring, but take it with a grin and just accept it and love it. I'll just play you a film now. You can hear some music and some pictures from the journey.
Look like I can. No. You have been to Italy with Boko Boko. Boko Boko.
So just a short slideshow. I'd love to show you more pictures. I think, 14,000 pictures and videos.
Oh
Really
wow.
hard to select, because some of them came out really nicely.
Yeah, those are beautiful, beautiful pictures. We were just talking about it here.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So most of them I took on the Panasonic Lumix and the iPhone 14. It's a great camera to carry, great investment because it takes really good pictures and great videos. Um, so I'm not going to give too much gyan, guys. Many of you are cyclists. You already know these, learnings. These are learnings more for others who haven't seen this part of life that we have seen. And some of you may not be cyclists also, but I'll just leave you with a few thoughts from both my journeys, our journeys in life, mine from Alaska to Peru, and on this trip, about what you know is really important. And I think we need to really go back and reconnect with nature and the wisdom and ways of our indigenous cultures. I think modern living has taken us far away from it, and I think an extreme hard right or hard left is required to really reconnect once again. And I think cycling allows you to do that. But one of the first things I think for touring and for anything that we do, when if you are a cyclist, you embrace your fears every day. When you step on the highway, you go on the roads, and you face a lot of crazy traffic. But one of the bigger things is when you're alone in the jungle and you fear wild animals. This is the picture of a bear that I took in Alaska. It was barely 20 feet away from me, and he was looking at me, and I was looking at him, and I didn't panic. And at that moment, that eye connection that we formed was so beautiful that from that day onwards, I lost my entire fear of bears, even leopards. I mean, my wife, where she comes from in the forests and jungles, there are no leopards, for example. And then we were camping in Himachal and Uttarakhand, and she was really terrified that at night some leopard will come and maul us away. And there have been a lot of maulings. But I think that assurance to her that nothing will happen really sort of calmed the mind down. And I think it's really important to embrace your fears when you go on a journey like this. Some of you may go alone and you may feel scared in the forest. It's okay. It's okay to feel scared. You'll get over it in a few nights. So, but just live with that fear. Don't run away. Pack your bags and go and stay inside somewhere, or take a lift. Just embrace that fear and conquer it. I think the most important thing is developing resilience. Along the way, there are many times we really were extremely tired, especially the first thing that came up to us, I think on our fourth day, was the climb from a village called Bupa at 4,500 feet to Bombdil at 10,000 feet. And I don't know, in all the planning that I did, I just did factor that in. 6,000 feet climb. It was over just 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers. And that's why in the video you must have seen the grind to Bombilla. We cycled maybe just three of those 10 kilometers. The seventh kilometer, we pushed the bike. And it broke, almost like a spirit. It was the sun was bearing down hard at 5,000 feet. It gets hot. 35 degrees in Guwahati. It was about 30 degrees in Rupa in the valley. Because by the time we got to Bombdilla, it was 1 or 2 degrees only. But developing resilience is extremely important because the tour will really punish you. It will make you really struggle. But if you have the mental strength, you'll be good. It's not about your body, it's just about your mind. So just remember that. Always be sure that outside our crazy cities and towns, people are filled with kindness and empathy wherever you go. Wherever you go. From free food to free rides to free beer to I don't want to use the word free, but they were just offered because they saw you as great travelers, adventurers on the way, and people come forward. These young girls in Himachal, they got to know it's my birthday. They went home, they made greeting cards for me, and sent it to the hostel where we were staying. You know, that is the most beautiful thing they could have done. So, kind of made my day. And like I said, accept struggle and hardship. This is a picture uh, from the Arctic. Extremely grueling trip, especially on the from Dead Horse to Fairbanks to Dolphin Highway. Find your purpose. What is the purpose of your life? I met this photographer, the Arctic Circle. He was walking 14 kilometers with his dog Pablo back to Texas, and this was his reason to exist. He wanted to take the most beautiful pictures of his country, and he was walking it, with his dog, with backpack. And I just found that extremely powerful, and it's also gave me a lot of courage, and I felt that I was not alone in this world. I was not the only crazy one. Uh, we are part of a crazier tribe out there who are doing amazing things. So one shouldn't get disheartened by others and what others have to say about you. Remain humble, remain like an ant, and I think that's a lesson we can carry back to work also. Never give up. Always believe that just a small molecule in the universe, an ant can carry 20 times its weight. And I think that's what we become as touring cyclists. We carry weight far. I mean, I weigh something like 60 kilos. My gear was with the bike was already at this journey 45 kilos. In Alaska, it was almost 50 kilos. So I was carrying that weight up a mountain, every day. So we're like ants, we're strong, and we have to believe that and stay humble about it. Live with humility. I met so many people who just live with great amount of humility. This couple owned a homestay in Udaipur, which is a small village near the Mayar Valley in Lohal district. And they were rich farmers, so they started a homestay for tourists on the way. But the kind of humility that I saw in them, the way they cook food, the way they served us with so much love and affection, I think will stay with me for life. And I think that's how we need to be also at work and in our own lives with each other. How to serve and be happy. I think service from the heart is again a very big thing. I think altruistic. This guy, his name is Namtak, he was fixing. Somebody gave me his number in Khyber village when Ashim had her altitude sickness. She couldn't breathe. He was the only guy in the village with a bolero pickup. But when I called him, he was on a glacier at 16,000 feet, fixing a water pipe for the village. You will not believe it. He came down in less than 2 hours, picked up the vehicle, and came down to the Steecham Bridge to bring her down to 13,000 feet in another village. So he gave up his day's job, gave up his work, and rescued us on a day when No one was there. I mean, there was no traffic, nothing. We couldn't have even taken a lift. At 14,000 feet in Spiti, it's just barren. But he did that. And I think it serves as a very valuable lesson in kindness, empathy, and service from the heart. And the most important thing is if you go as a group, play as a team, use each other's skill sets. Asham's very good at pitching up the tent and setting up the camp. And I thought I was good at it. She was even better. A typical a person who knew how to make everything comfortable. She was able to get a fire up in less than a minute, and I'd be struggling with my matchstick. You know, so those are skills that she had, and I had other skills, and we kind of married those. And I think we had a great trip together. You know, so I think that's really important for us to be playing as a team, especially in a group, and give time to yourself. Spend time in nature, even if you're married. You take time out for yourself to spend time in nature as and when you can, and dare the impossible. The army is full of incredible motivational messages. All of you would have traveled, I'm sure, at some point and seen the BRO signs. And I saw some brilliant ones. There was this army rock climbing phase in Kaho in Arunachal. And I love this particular thing they written because obviously for the Jawans who must have failed while trying to climb the rock wall, and they written no one knows what he can do until he tries, because it's really daunting, and they're showing the soldiers they climb the cliffs. So yeah, that's kind of stuck with me as well. And this is something I really loved. Your best teacher is your last mistake. Got it beautifully. And last of all, I just want to say a famous line with J.R.R. Tolkien: "The greatest adventure of what lies ahead, today and tomorrow, are yet to be said. The chances of changes are all yours to make. The field of your life is in your hands to do." I just love this quotation, and I put it up for you guys. And lastly, all I want to say is you can dream it, you can do it. We never thought we could actually ride to 14,000 feet on our bikes. I had done it before, but I hadn't done it for 8 years. Ashim was doing it for the first time in her life. She'd never been to a mountain more than 9,000 feet, 10,000 feet. And she was here at 14,000 feet ahead of me. She was riding ahead of me, not behind me, and leading the way. So thanks, guys. I love talking to you. And if you have any questions for 10 15 minutes, if you have time, Arvind, have that chat.
That was fantastic. Thank you. It was so inspirational. And yeah, I think all of us have to say kudos to Ashim because
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
just
She's the
learned
hero.
to cycle. Yeah.
I'm the speaker, but she's the real hero.
Yeah.
So yeah. She's
And I mean, it's just amazing the stories and the experiences you shared and how concisely you've conveyed so much information in your slides. So there are a lot of questions around here. So I'm going to pass the mic around. Let's start.
yeah. Please, yeah. Thanks, Arvind.
uh, at one point you said you changed the brook saddle.
Yeah.
You changed the brook saddle. Can you tell us why you exactly changed the brook saddle for the Italian saddle?
Yeah, I did that because I used a Brook saddle, a leather one, which I got in Vancouver, and a different one, which served me well. It was comfortable throughout my Alaska trip. But later, so I was 48 when I did that trip. Later, in my early 50s, I discovered I was developing a prostate problem and a perineum problem. I didn't know about the perineum that well. So I started getting into it. Why is my prostate getting inflamed? And I did a lot of research on that. And I realized that the saddle in men who ride extensively for long times, even though I was wearing gel padding and all that and whatever, it creates irritation in the nerves, and it creates inflammation in the nerves in the perineum area. The Cella Italian that I took after a lot of research, both for Ashim and me, has an airflow system which takes the pressure off. You will see the Cella Italia if you're there in the shop. I think you might see it, the S7. Hers is different. Women's bodies are different, so that one is shaped differently. There's an airflow system, which means that firstly, it keeps your prostate cool, the perineum, and your perineum doesn't sit on the saddle, it sits in that gap. So what happens is that there's no direct pressure. As you get older, you will start getting these problems. Okay. So as a young rider, it is important to protect yourself. And there is a lot of merit in what I'm saying because I've done a lot of research on this. And young riders, you see, not many older people ride. Yeah, Feroz rides, I ride. There are a few riders in Dehradun I know of for riding Surleys and doing long tours. Bike packing trips and all are fine. 7 days, 10 days, you can ride a Brooks, even 2 months. But if you're going 3,000, 4,000 kilometers, plus you're climbing. So when you climb, your entire body is strained, your shoulders, your wrists, and the pressure is coming on your seat as well, especially when you're going like this. If you saw the video. So I realized that this was causing the problem, and not once in this entire tour did I ever have any inflammation or prostate problem or any of the issues that I had with the Brooks. So then I could relate back. Oh, I think I was getting that pain because of the. And it's not about Brooks as a brand. Okay, it's just about any normal saddle. Okay, you need on a long trip, you need to protect your prostate very importantly. As men, we have to understand this. By late 50s, a lot of men get prostate cancer. It starts with prostatitis and many other things. So you should educate yourselves before you ride long distances.
Thank you very much, Dhruv. This is a very important point you have mentioned. And I myself have questioned, using Brooks saddle of late. So thank you very much.
Is that Feroz?
I'm Abraham.
Abraham. Okay. Hi, Abraham. Hi. It sounds like Feroz. Yeah, I had asked him to join, but I think he's somewhere in Uttarakhand riding today. So.
Yeah, thanks, Dhruv and Ashim. Like, it's so inspiring. So I am actually a city cyclist in Bangalore.
Okay.
Like, all my commute and everything I do on cycle, and weekend I do go for 50, 100, 150-kilometer rides. That's
Yeah.
all. But looking at all your pictures and your elevation and like a 60 kg bike, I was thinking of getting onto a road bike, but now I need to improve my strength and stamina.
Yeah, you can start with your hills there in Bangalore. There are a lot of even hills in that side. You have the Blue Mountains, Nilgiris. You can just start warming up in those areas. It's really fun, with a light bike to pick up with a light bike and go first. So
Right.
early is a
And Dhruv, what's your next ride? Like,
well,
where you
that's the
plan to
question
go
I
next?
often get asked. When you take a big, I think when you take a big thing with life, I run a company. I mean, I'm the CEO of a company. So short rides are always happening in the mountains. We go up to Uttarakhand and here and there. 3 days, 4 days, we are managing to squeeze in. But the next big ride, I think, hopefully will happen a year or year and a half from now, where it's a multi-month ride. It's not possible to take so much of time off from work. I think people run out of patience if you're trying to have, do a job and everything else. It's not easy. Okay. So it's a very big risk. And I took a risk. In fact, I resigned from my organization first, and then they said, "Why are you going? Let's figure out something." Otherwise, I had actually thrown caution to the winds and I resigned again for the second time. So I don't prescribe that, especially if one has a lot of responsibilities in life. I also have, but I'm a bit crazy. I said, let's see, the money will come. But and if you go with that, it's a bit of a risk, but so far life has not let me down. Okay. It's always provided when needed, and I've taken those risks and live with them. So the next ride may happen definitely in that zone that I was talking about, which is picking up from Spiti, going up to Zanskar and then Kargil and all the way to Srinagar, Kashmir, and we want to go to Gurez Valley. So that's one section I want to do. That will take many months again, and I think I can only do it once I'm really say goodbye to work once and for all, and I'm on my own. So that's when it will happen, and let's see when that happens. But short rides keep happening. I mean, we go to Himachal, we go to Uttarakhand, we might go again in April. Might decide to come down south and do. I think give Ashim a break from the clients and do some coastal riding, which are a bit more gentler, and enjoy us a bit instead of torturing ourselves. But they'll keep happening, inshallah.
Yeah, all the best. All the best, Dhruv. All the
Thank
best,
you.
Ashim. Thank you.
Thanks.
So Arvind here, I might have missed. Maybe you said this in your talk, and I might have missed when you said it. But why did you choose the time of the year that you did to do those sections?
Yeah, see, the Himalayas are a tricky one because the whole Himalayan system goes through winter together. It and also what happened is that the rains did not stop. So when you go to Ladakh, for instance, you can go to Ladakh in July. It's dry, it's arid, it doesn't rain there. Sometimes it rains. Now the weather's changed, there are flash floods happening, but they are still quite minimal. But that year, the decision being taken, I had to shift from August to September for the simple reason, and you can't ride too much. I wanted to be in the snow as well. And plus, I couldn't have left earlier because they asked me to continue till August, till July. Though I had indicated my interest to go by March, but then I delayed it by 4 5 months. But let me come back to the main thing. We chose this time of the year because we realized there is no other time. Because if you start in June, July, then it's raining, and the weather in that part of the year, now it will keep raining till September. So if you're going to the Himalayas, it's going to keep raining till about mid-August, early September. This is the new weather pattern. Number one. Number two, if you are going to be the October-November period, just see what the October-November period is the most beautiful time in the mountains in the Himalayas. The rhododendrons are out. They are out in April also, but in some parts they're out in that part. There are a lot of flowering trees. The air is crisp and nice, and then you get into winter. But if you're doing short trips, I would advise March, April, or maybe February, March. Lighter snow, some rain, but the days are still nice. Or I would say October, November. But having started the journey, I had no option but to go through December and January and February. And the winters came late as well. It started snowing in February when I didn't expect it to. So my thought was I'll do Meghalaya in December, get away from the harsh winter of December because a lot of snow slides and stuff happen. But that didn't happen. There was no snow in December. So once we finished Meghalaya, we went to Uttarakhand. Again, I thought by the end of third week of Jan, there'll be no snow. But it started snowing only end of January. So we were in the middle of a lot of snowfall throughout the entire journey, right up till Sisu. That got a
Okay,
lot of
thanks.
pain. Yeah, it took us a lot of time. It delayed us. Roads would get blocked. It was sometimes too cold to ride also in the mornings, like -10, -15 in the morning. So it became really cold. And the cold does strange things to your body, guys, in high altitude. You lose weight. You don't feel like eating. You get into a grumpy mood. You're cold all the time, you know. So, and the sleeping bags are just not enough sometimes because the heaviest sleeping bag, which can go up to -15, is really bulky, even those ultra light. So we had -10 sleeping bags, which were okay, but if the temperature went above -10 in the night, what would one do? That's a risky one.
So, okay, thanks for that. So, I have another question. I think we have time. Yeah. So, yeah. About your supplies that you took, did you carry it all from the start, or like did you mail some ahead to some certain towns where you
Yeah,
would know that you could go and pick up?
right. So we didn't mail it anywhere, but for example, supplies. Okay, so there are two parts to the journey, right? There are slightly populated areas in which you get supplies on the way. So you'll get the villages have shops, right? So they'll have rice and dal at least. They'll have onions. They'll have garlic. They'll have turmeric. So you get the spices and the stuff on the way. The other things, the luxuries like I call the coffee powder, the paper, because I only drink pour over. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. Mad over coffee. That I would keep couriering to places. And then the beauty of the Northeast, especially, is in other areas. And I'll tell you, it really works beautifully. Is that you find someone to stock it with? Like I had spoke to Spoke Up Cycling in Guwahati, and then our own company store was in Guwahati as well. So I kept all the stuff there, a lot of stuff, which I would not get in the mountains. And then they would send it up in a vehicle, like a jeep, which is carrying passengers up to the mountains. So all I would have was the Jeep number and the driver's number. And then he would deliver to me in Tawang or someplace, and I'll wait for him at the highway, and he'll give it to me, and I'll carry it. So there's no postage really. There's no courier service in many places in the Northeast. Yeah. Or once I had to get some medicines for myself from Chandigarh, and I was way up there near Kinnaur. And somebody I told went to the shop in Chandigarh, gave my medicines, and it came to me in a Himachal State bus in the bus stop, and I was waiting for the bus, and he said, just it's all trust. So there's no, you just tip him $100 and he gives you your tablets. So that's how it works. And it works beautifully. In some places, yeah, we got a courier as well. I mean, I was stunned to see a delivery guy in Meghalaya in a village. So I was amazed. I said, like, my God, I mean, the pin codes they're servicing is incredible. So you can order in stuff, but you need to know where to have it dropped off. Somebody you have to contact, like a homestay guy, saying, I'm coming there 2 weeks' time. I'll be staying with you. My stuff is going to come to you in advance. You can do that. I've done that also a couple of times.
Okay. Good to know. So a lot of different ways, whatever works in each scenario, I guess.
Yeah. So cycling shops are your best bet. Okay, especially the really advanced ones like Ian's shop in Shillong. He was a blessing. Bikash Doli's shop in Spoke Up Cycling. He's got shops in Guwahati. He's got a big store in Itanagar. So there are also points where you can leave your bike and come back home if you have to, and then go back there. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I just I have one more question. When can I read your next book?
I've begun writing it. I'm on chapter 4, 14 more to go. maybe
that's absolutely important. We love to have your second book.
Third book. There are 2 books already.
I mean, your Himalaya.
Himalaya second book. But this one will be a bigger project. The Away was a bit of a fast project. I wrote it during COVID and nothing else to do. So I wrote it in 40 days flat. Since you guys are here, I want to ask you guys, okay, do you want a cycling book which is like Grid Gravel Gear, if you've heard of it, it's in the store, like a regular non-fiction book with lot of chapters and writing, or would you prefer a coffee table book with pictures, with a little bit about the journey written in it? Because the costs are both, both are completely different formats. But what would you guys prefer? Just curious to know, since I'm writing a book.
I think this audience, I'm going to speak for audience. I think.
Yeah, you can raise their hands, just the audience, because they are going to be the main consumers, right?
Right. Yeah, raise your hands. He's saying who prefers the first regular old book, the non-fiction, or is yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think. Right. And Dhruv, I can tell you, I sold some books some years back to the cycling community, right? We ordered from Velo Press in the US and sold.
Yeah.
We didn't really have much uptake for the coffee table books. I still have a few of the Eddie Merckx books, beautiful pictures of Eddie Merckx racing. And, I think Abraham picked one, but we still have, some of those. So I think more of a Western audience for those kind of books. They do well in
which kind of books?
Coffee table kind of books.
Yeah, coffee table. Yeah.
So you should do an international release for that, and I think it will do fairly well.
Yeah. Okay, it's very expensive building a coffee table book. I think it's upwards of 5 lakhs because each
sir, but those who want to really benefit will prefer the first version, because we want some details. We want how you really tackled some of your problems, and that kind of an information can come only from the first kind of coffee table book. Is something like a masala. You sit beside your coffee and you enjoy. Both are different.
Both are different. Yes, totally. I'm writing a regular book, but I just thought I'll do an audience poll.
So my advice or suggestion would be to include some pages with some color pictures. You have beautiful pictures, and include a lot of maps. I would say like hand-drawn maps. Those are going to be
hand-drawn maps.
Yeah.
This time I'll do that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so Dhruv, this is Amar here. So I do a lot of mentoring to Gen Z. Gen Z. So, and even I go on group rides with Gen Z.
Hmm.
So the Gen Z may not, if they are at all interested to going for the ride, then they will read your full book. But if
Yeah.
they just want to see the nice, beautiful pictures and
Yeah.
like some anecdote or something, so then
Mhm.
the coffee table books is more relevant for them.
Yeah.
Means so
Different
both have their
audiences
own
actually.
unique audience.
Yeah,
Both have
absolutely
their own
right.
unique audience. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. True. I mean, writing a book is seriously a not-for-profit venture. You can never make money out of writing a book. Trust me. And it's more cost than anything else. The publisher takes away 90% of your earnings anyway. So you don't really get much. But yeah, it's more for giving back to the world than anything else. That's why I asked. So yeah, definitely it'll be a full-fledged book.
Great. Looking forward to it. Yeah. Okay. You want to ask a question? Okay, here.
Hi, Dhruv.
Hi,
Thank you for this is Sriram here.
Sriram. Hi.
Thank you for presenting whatever journey you finished and making us a part of it indirectly. Okay, I had few questions for you on your journey on the Pan American Highway, right?
Yeah.
So the first and foremost would be uh, what was your, if you have an expense sheet for all the visas that you
Mm,
applied as an Indian passport holder, because it always has this weird questions in your
yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Second question was, did you stick only to the highways, or did you take the Andes? And in Ecuador, there is a timber Trans-American mountain bike route. Did you
Yeah. Yeah.
take that? One more, so two more questions I'd like to add in the same question is that, did you use any specific device to mark your routes, like as in a Garmin or as in an iPhone or whatever, if there is one? And
Mhm.
did you set any specific time frame, like 18 months or 24 months before starting? Right?
Yeah.
And
So,
why not all the way until Ushuaia, and why only till
yeah. So
Andes?
I'll try and remember all five questions. I'll start with the first one. The Pan American Highway is it has many different diversions. Okay, so you can go any number of routes. You can go any number of ways. Your first question was, why did I take some diversion, right? Irregular routes? Did I just stick to the road? So mainly, this was my first tour. Okay, I had never been out of India. Number one, on a cycling tour. Number two, I had not even done a full week of cycle touring in India itself when I landed up in Dead Horse, Alaska. So it was a massive gamble, and for me, I had to overcome a lot of my own fears, but I did it nonetheless. So I stuck to the the classic Pan American route right along. When I reached the Canadian border in Canadian US border in October, I think it was October, no, November, I had to exit the US by I think 6th of December. I was really tempted to do the Great Divide route, but I couldn't because there was no way I could have reached New Mexico in the desired number of days, and my visa was getting over. I would have got over, I think, and I was not sure about the weather as well because winter already started setting in. It was snowing in Canada. So yeah, so there's one route I didn't take the Great Divide route. I took the coastal highway. A lot of cyclists told me also that, listen, take the coastal highway, it's really beautiful. And in many ways, I agreed because I saw so much more than I would have seen from American way of life, which is not the material world, but many other things about coastal life that I would not have seen in the Great Divide. So plus and minuses of both. The second is I took a very non-classic route, which is the Baja Peninsula, which not many people take. They take the mainland route to through Mexico, which was unusual. So I took that, which was risky and dangerous both, and that was
Sorry, can you repeat it? Did you
Baja
cross
Peninsula.
via Tijuana?
Yeah, Tijuana. So Tijuana is really extremely dangerous place, especially for a cyclist. But I mean, a lot of Americans go through it on the way to various places. But on a cycle, most Americans don't take Tijuana. A lot of them don't take it. Go from the mainland route, through Mexico, because it's the main drug route also. The Baja Peninsula has got a lot of drug cartels in the desert, so they don't take that, and it's evident from the kind of paramilitary guys on the highway. So you go down that route, it's almost 500 kilometers, and then you cross over to the mainland Mazatlan on a ferry. Then again in Mexico, I didn't take the classic route. I went to the UNESCO heritage site, so I followed that route. I went to all of them, and coming back to the visa cost, America and Canada, the only visa. I already had a US visa, so I don't remember how much the current visa cost is. For Canada, also, it was not much. For Central America, South America, I didn't have to really pay much because India has a visa on arrival kind of a policy with them. It kind of backfired in Nicaragua. The border guys didn't know, and they questioned me, interrogated me for a whole day. I was put in a bit of a small jail, maybe, but then they released me later on. But the other places, there was no problem. Peru also is very cheap. Bolivia is very cheap. Uh, from a route perspective, coming back to that, again, I didn't go to Ecuador because I was not being able to cross the Darien Gap, and there were no boats from Panama to Colombia for almost a month. Something had happened, so they had stopped it. So I was stuck. So then I had to fly from Panama to Peru directly.
Okay. Otherwise, you go to Kapurgana or Cartagena.
You have to take a small boat again, which is very
Yeah.
difficult.
Okay.
And you take a small boat. It takes a week to reach the coast on the other side, and stuff
Okay.
like that. Or you fly down to Colombia, Bogota, or someplace.
And also, look, since you already had a US visa, you could enter Colombia without a visa, right?
Yeah, I could, but again, the Colombia guys said no, because they said if you're coming by this route, then we will not allow you. And you said you have to. They told me you had to apply for the Colombia visa in Delhi and not in Panama itself. So they refused my visa in Panama actually. So I couldn't even fly to Colombia, and there was no way I fly back to India.
Sorry to stop you. So they asked you to go back to Panama and then get a visa, is it?
No. They said if you want a visa for Colombia, you have to apply in your home country.
From
But
Delhi. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Okay.
in your
Okay.
home country, the visa they issue is only for 3 to 6 months. Okay, which meant that if I had applied for it before I left, it would have expired anyway, right? By the time I reached Colombia.
Right.
So I had, then I heard something else from other people. They said, no, don't worry, just land up. It will happen. It didn't happen. So then I had to take a flight then because I wouldn't have got a visa on arrival in Colombia. So then I flew from Panama City to Lima directly because there you have visa on arrival.
Panama too?
Peru, Lima.
Okay. Got it.
And then, of course, the Peru trip ended in the Andes because again I ran out of money with all these flights and nonsense, and there was just not enough time to finish.
Oh,
So again, a, a trip I think requires a lot of financial depth. Okay, and I underestimated the cost of the US, especially Canada. Canada is extremely expensive. I mean,
yeah.
Canadian mobile telephony is very expensive. The Canadian camps are expensive, and generally food is expensive. In Yukon, on the other side, where you have Toronto and all is cheap, but on this side, the Yukon side, British Columbia side, it's very expensive. The hostels are expensive because it's far away from being serviced from the main economy. So everything, but it all comes from the other side, which I didn't know. I think I ran out of a lot significant part of the money I'd put in Canada itself. And somehow then I managed to drag my way
And
through.
for this trip, you didn't carry your stuff or making your own food, did you?
I did. But then it's not always to make your own food. I mean, on some days you're too tired to even cook. When you're touring for a long time, a year and a half,
I get it. Yeah. Okay.
how
Got it.
much can you cook? I mean, like sometimes you run out of ingredients or you want to do that mountain, so you want to lighten your load. The last thing you want to do is carry food and water and not be able to climb properly. So yeah, there are a lot of practical things. And I think also I realized one thing, and I'm pretty straightforward about it, is that as you grow older, your ability to really climb significant distances in a day starts going down. Okay. So I could climb a certain distance when I was in my late 30, early 40s. And when you do, when you're 48, 49, I was almost 50 when I finished MDs. I think it starts taking a toll on the body, on the joints. You come down with strange pains and aches, which you can't explain.
Right, right.
You then come down to 20, 25 kilometers, which is also not an option because you start running out of food. It's a vicious cycle, right? You carry a lot of food, it slows you down. And because it slows you down, you cover less distance. And then because you're less distance, you're taking more days to reach the next station. And then by which time you're running out of food again. So you have to plan it really well that you have enough food for 3 days, but no more than that. So a lot of the blogs that you read about other cyclists in the US, Australia, Germany, they're much younger. Some are very older, but they take a longer time, 2 years, 3 years to finish the journey. So yeah, they don't get into all the details about. They never reveal that all the times they took a ride, for example. Because in Western culture, there is a thing called, oh, you did this, you cheated. So nobody talks about it, but they do it all the time. You do it in India. I mean, I've seen so many foreigners go up the mountain on a trailer and then zoom down and start posting, oh, we did this. Actually, they never did it. And they do the same. So it's like it's a weird thing in the Western touring fraternity. They see it like a very macho thing that how can you tell anyone that you took a ride? It's seen below the dignity, so they don't talk about these things. These are real life problems. When you're touring, you fall sick, you get weak, you don't get enough to eat, your age matters. All sorts of things happen. I mean, I'm after the last trip, I was recovering for almost 9 months from various types of pains which doctors couldn't fix. It was such a severe strain on the body. And same even after this trip, I still have to go for some MRIs now because my shoulder's acting up. So you have to be really careful doing your exercises, your body strengthening on the way. And when you're looking for food in the night, last thing you got to do is, yeah, I'll do my stretching. The last thing on your mind, trust me. These are all nice things to plan in the beginning. But when you're in the journey, oh my God, it's like, do I have time to stretch in the morning or I'm going to get up and cook and go off before the sun rises? You start taking those kind of practical decisions.
Yeah, yeah. So another thing was, did you plan the? Did you have the iPhone as a primary map?
No,
This thing. Did you have a
yeah,
Garmin? I
yeah,
see
yeah,
that you
yeah.
had
Yeah, map thing
Garmin.
is very easy, guys. Map thing is very easy. I wasn't following a map as in that this is my country, right? I mean, if you're talking about Alaska, Peru, yes, I had paper maps because in many places in the US and Canada, you'll be surprised and shocked to know there is no network. And the network is so poor. The whole of the Western Highway, the California one, the network is extremely poor in the coastal areas. So you have to rely on paper maps. And Canada too, there's hardly any network. You rely on paper maps. Mexico, Guatemala, excellent network like India, no problem. Just follow Google Maps, and you're there. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
In India, mostly Google Map where there's network. I think the government has done a brilliant job of getting Airtel 5G everywhere, but there are still a few sections where there is no network. So there are some sections in Tawang area there is absolutely no network. Even there is BSNL that doesn't work. In the extreme sector, in the Kaho sector, there's no network again. So you need to download the Google Map in advance, save it offline. Okay. Or you
And
can download your
did,
Garmin.
did,
What happened with Garmin is I was carrying a Garmin Edge. Issue
and
with
Enreach also? Garmin
Pardon?
Enreach? Did you have an Enreach for emergency, or was it
No,
just?
Enreach you can't use in India. I had an Enreach in this place in Alaska
Okay.
and in Peru and all that. So in India, the thing is, you can't use Enreach. It's not allowed. So please don't carry it. Oh, one more thing, guys. If you are going to be carrying your Garmin Edge device on the plane, please don't carry it. It will be confiscated from you. Strangely, they don't take your Apple Watch, which does the same thing, maybe, but they will
You can
confiscate.
put it in. You can check it in with your primary.
Because it's got a battery inside. So you can't check it in. You have to courier it to where you're going. It's already
So you
happened.
buy it. You buy it in Alaska.
No, Alaska is not a problem. India, I'm saying. In India, the domestic CSF guys will confiscate your garment and say, pick it up on your way back. Okay? Because there is a government notification which says,
Uh,
you see, what happened is the government sent a notification for InReach Garment. That time, InReach was owned by Garment. Now, I think it's changed hands. I'm not sure. So, what happened is the CSF guys play on the more safer side and they seize all garment devices which look like a phone. So if you have a simple speedometer type, the lower model, the 520 or something, they may let you through. But I think the moment they see garment written there, they confiscate it. It's happened to
and
me
for
quite.
the route from Alaska to this thing was not done by Garmin primarily.
No,
What?
I used it, but I didn't find it practical, guys. I mean, frankly speaking, what happens is that you can load your maps on it. Okay, that's fine. If you are really into exploring an area on the site, and I used it for a couple of places. I downloaded the US maps, Canadian maps, and to go off road, I did a few times. But the problem is charging. You in US and Canada, you don't get charging points, especially in Canada. So where are you going to use it? So I got completely like irritated because the most harshest journey, the Dalton Highway for 1,000 kilometers, there's no electricity except in one place called Coalport, and the Garmin charge doesn't last. I mean, even if you're
So your
carrying
power bank is your primary reliable source, right? 3 or 4 power banks altogether.
but how many can you carry when your every gram counts? You'll carry one when you're alone. On this trip, Ashram was carrying one, I was carrying one, so we distributed the weight. But when you're traveling alone, every gram counts, boss. You'll be cursing yourself for that little bloody spoon you carried also. It boils down to that much because the struggle is so much. So
And was there any solar options that
I
you
use solar again, doesn't work. Trust me, you're wasting your
because
time.
it's cold?
Yeah, see, it's cold in
Cold.
Alaska and the Arctic Circle. You get almost 20 hours sun.
Okay.
That foldable thing, that company called I spend money in a lot of things, guys. It doesn't work. The Nomad, I think, because I think it's a 4 panel or 5 panel because it takes almost 4 hours to charge a phone. you know so Alaska had worked because there was sun 20 hours, so I would sleep at 8 p.m, get up at 6 a.m. So in that time it was charging up to 40-50%, but there was no way it could charge the Garmin was dead in day 3. That's why my rides are not recorded in Garmin at all. So that's one. Secondly, in India too, half the time the Himalayas have cloud cover. You don't get a strong enough sun except in Ladakh you'll get to power up your devices through a solar panel. So basic thing is I would suggest carry 2 power banks if you're a couple. If you're traveling alone, maybe you can carry the 20,000 mAh if you want. If you're going on a long journey in Zanskar,
Two of them.
the normal one is fine because nowadays you come across tents and camping. And even the army guys will let you charge your phone for 1 hour. It's not a problem. So there are BRO camps on the way. So India is not an issue anymore. I think there are too many of us here now. But in the other part of the world, a solar panel is a waste of time, if you ask me. It's just work. A lot of people will show they're using it, but it's not practical.
So there's no point buying even for the entire trip.
No point, no point. It sounds very sexy and fancy, trust me, but it's just no point. Just
Okay.
take a good. Nowadays, the lithium batteries are excellent. The power banks are really great.
So just go with an iPhone and then just keep going.
Yeah, just go with an iPhone and keep going.
Black and white for the call.
And
That is the
Ashim gave a
best
good
thing.
one. Ashim says carry a normal Nokia without any smartphone, the normal one, to make emergency calls in case your smartphone
Yeah,
goes.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, good point. Baby.
Switch off and keep an emergency he can on and like he
Yeah. So switch it off. So we had 2 phones or 3 phones between us. One was an emergency phone, and I learned that thing in Canada because my phone fell off the ferry into the ocean, so I was without a phone. And thank God it was an iPhone, so all my pictures were on iCloud, thankfully. But yeah, carry 2 phones always.
Okay.
Coming back to visas and Garmin, see, Garmin is a great device. Very nice to use it if you're in a reliable country to charge it. So I used the Garmin in the Himalaya trip throughout, but I also use Strava as a backup because the readings on both are quite different here. The readings on both are as different as like elevation gain in a day would be as much as 250-meter difference. So I said, let's do both because Strava is sometimes higher and Garmin is lower. When Garmin is higher and Strava is lower. So that's how it is.
Is it available in Delhi if we go there by any other means? I mean,
You have to ask, I guess. So everybody wants to see you in person. So when
Whenever
are we
I
going to
go
see
next
you?
on a visit, I'll definitely come by and we can have a catch up session for sure.
Yeah, I think you should let us know if you're in Bangalore again. We should do something around then.
Yeah. I'll come again sometime this month or next month. I'll come.
Oh, this month. Okay, great.
Just don't ask me to get my bike, huh, please. It's too much
Yeah.
of hassle carrying it around, getting it packed and unpacked and assembling it again. So, guys, the
So
thing is, keep your my thing is that on my first trip, I was a new guy. Okay, nobody in India to tell me in 2014 what to carry. Everything I learned from these Western foreigners, and their whole society is built around marketing these things to us. And some of the marketing things are good. I mean, they're useful piece of equipment, and you don't have to go cheap on them, but you don't have to go too expensive on them also. I think a good iPhone is a great device to carry. You have your weather on it, you have your maps on it. I used Komoot a lot on this trip to record some rides. I also use one more. I think it was Write My GPS also. So I tried out different apps, but ultimately the one that was fail safe. So okay, I'll tell you what I did. I used Komoot to plan the day. Okay, because Komoot drains the battery really fast, really fast. If you're on and recording your device, at least I found between taking pictures and using Komoot, it drained the battery really fast. It would be off by 3 o'clock. But Strava doesn't do that. Komoot I found very useful of planning my ride, which Strava can't do, in terms of elevation gain, and you can plot the thing and save the ride and go back to it. It tells you where you are on that ride, you know. And then you say, okay, I've got 200 meters more elevation gain to go. So that way I use Komoot a lot. But I didn't use Komoot to actually store my rides because that really drains your battery very fast. And you'll be taking videos on the way, you'll take pictures, and videos are sometimes long, and then again they're a drain on the battery. So
great. So I'm just going to ask around for last round. Any other questions? Further questions? No, that was fantastic. Thank you, Dhruv and Ashim.
Arvind,
Yeah. So it was-
later if I request a specific meeting with him half an hour.
he want so Sriram here is planning to do the Pan American route. So he's wanting to connect with you. So should I
yeah.
ask him to
Just give my
contact you on
number.
Instagram?
Yeah, please give him my number and he can call me anytime. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll share your number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
All
great.
right.
Yeah, all the best. That's a great route. Plan for 2 years if you can.
Yeah.
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 2 years and try to find some fellow to sponsor you also.
Yeah. I'm trying to see. I'm also trying to see if anyone from Patreon can can join along my this thing.
Yeah. Do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your patience.
Yeah. No, I love being part of this community. It's my life. Yeah. The work life is an irritant, but this is what makes life exciting.
All right then. Fantastic. Thank you. Have a
Hopefully,
good
next time
afternoon.
you guys will if you have a girlfriend or a wife, please get them along, inspire them to ride with you.
Yeah.
They can ask all the questions to Ashim and say,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what did you do?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
That's not easy. So you're a lucky man. Count yourself lucky. Yeah.
But I'm telling you, anyone can do it. It's all in the mind.
Yeah.
All in the mind. I
If
mean,
you
seriously.
give chance to your wife to do all this, she will be so happy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye. I think you
Bye,
have to
guys.
stop
See you.
sharing. Yeah.
Bye.